Hi, welcome to my channel. Now we uncover the untold story of the Chernobyl disaster, the explosion that shook the world. Introduction. On the night of April 26, 1986, the quiet industrial town of Pripyat, near the border of Ukraine and Belarus, went to sleep unaware that they were about to witness one of the worst nuclear disasters in human history. The explosion at the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant not only released massive amounts of radiation into the air, but also changed how humanity viewed nuclear energy forever. This was not just an accident. It was a tragedy born from a mixture of human error, system failure, and political secrecy. The name Chernobyl became synonymous with fear, suffering, and the hidden dangers of atomic power. The race for nuclear power. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union and the United States were in a race, not just for weapons and space, but also for energy dominance. Nuclear power was seen as the future, clean, modern, and powerful. The Soviet Union built many nuclear reactors across its vast land, and one of the most important was the V.I. Lenin nuclear power station at Chernobyl. It had 4 reactors, each capable of generating 1,000 megawatts of electricity. It was a symbol of Soviet pride and technological achievement. But beneath that pride lay flawed design and poor safety culture. The RBMK-type reactor used at Chernobyl had dangerous weaknesses that few outside the Soviet scientific elite even knew about. The night of the explosion, on April 25, 1986, engineers at Reactor 4 planned a safety test. The goal was to see if the turbines could generate enough electricity to keep cooling pumps running during a temporary power outage. It was a routine test, something they had done before, but this time things went wrong. Due to poor communication, design flaws, and ignored safety procedures, the reactor was pushed into a dangerously unstable state. At 1:23 a.m. on April 26th, 2 massive explosions ripped through Reactor 4. The 1,000-ton reactor lid was blown off, and a fireball of radioactive material shot into the sky. The graphite core burned for days, spewing radiation over large parts of Europe. The immediate aftermath. At first, nobody understood the scale of the disaster. Firefighters rushed to the plant without any protective gear, believing it was a regular fire. They climbed onto the roof directly above the open reactor and were exposed to lethal doses of radiation. Most of them would die within weeks, their bodies burned from the inside out by invisible radiation. In Pripyat, people went about their mourning as usual. Children played outside, families attended weddings. The Soviet authorities waited more than 36 hours before ordering an evacuation. By then, the radiation levels were thousands of times higher than normal. When the evacuation finally began, over 49,000 residents were told to pack only essential items. They were promised they could return in a few days, but they never did. Pripyat became a ghost city overnight. The spread of radiation, the radioactive cloud from Chernobyl, didn't stay in Ukraine. Winds carried it across Belarus, Russia, Poland, Sweden, and even Western Europe. Swedish scientists were the first to detect abnormal radiation levels, forcing the Soviet Union to admit that something terrible had happened. though they still tried to hide the full truth. Experts estimate that Chernobyl released 400 times more radiation than the Hiroshima atomic bomb. The exclusion zone, a 30-kilometer area around the plant, remains one of the most radioactive places on Earth. The human cost. The exact number of victims from the Chernobyl disaster is still debated. 31 people died in the initial explosion and firefighting efforts. Over the following years, thousands died from cancer, radiation sickness, and related diseases. Over 600,000 workers, known as liquidators, were sent to clean up the site. Many suffered severe health problems. Children born in contaminated regions had higher rates of birth defects and thyroid cancer. Entire communities vanished, leaving behind only silence and decay. The cleanup effort. To contain the radioactive core, Soviet engineers constructed a massive concrete sarcophagus over Reactor 4, completed in late 1986. It was meant to last 30 years but began cracking and leaking within a decade. In 2016, an even larger structure called the new safe confinement was placed over the old one of the most ambitious engineering feats in history. It was built to seal the reactor for at least 100 years. Even today, the plant remains dangerous. Reactor decommissioning and cleanup continue, requiring specialized robots and remote-controlled systems. Secrecy and Soviet politics. Chernobyl was not just a technical failure, it was a political disaster. For years, the Soviet Union operated under strict secrecy. The people were rarely told the truth. Even after the explosion, the government tried to minimize panic. The May Day parade in Kyiv, less than 100 kilometers away, went ahead as planned, exposing thousands to radiation. When the truth finally emerged, it damaged the Soviet Union's global image. It exposed the inefficiency, denial, and corruption within the system. Many historians believe that Chernobyl contributed to the eventual collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. Scientific and environmental impact. Chernobyl changed how the world viewed nuclear energy. Countries tightened safety standards, built international monitoring systems, and created agencies like the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, to oversee safety regulations. The disaster also turned the Chernobyl zone into a living laboratory for scientists. Surprisingly, wildlife has flourished in the absence of humans. Wolves, deer, and rare birds roam freely in the abandoned forests. Yet, the soil, plants, and animals still carry traces of radiation even after nearly 4 decades. Chernobyl in culture. The story of Chernobyl continues to haunt and inspire artists, writers, and filmmakers. The 2019 HBO miniseries Chernobyl brought renewed attention to the event, praised for its realism and emotional depth. The haunting images of abandoned classrooms, rusting Ferris wheels, and gas masks scattered in schools remain powerful symbols of human negligence and nature's revenge. Legacy and lessons. Chernobyl's legacy is both tragic and transformative. It taught the world that technology, without transparency and responsibility, can be catastrophic. It showed that truth cannot be buried, not even under tons of concrete. The bravery of the firefighters engineers, and doctors who sacrificed their lives stands as a reminder of human courage amid disaster. Today, Chernobyl remains frozen in time, a silent city where clocks stopped at 1:23 a.m. But its message continues to echo. When humanity forgets humility, nature will remind us of our limits. Conclusion: the Chernobyl disaster wasn't just a Soviet tragedy, it was a warning to all humankind. It reshaped policies, inspired global cooperation, and forever changed how we balance progress with safety. The world may have moved on, but in the ghostly silence of Pripyat, the wind still whispers of that night when the earth itself seemed to glow. Finally, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this World History Facts Hub channel.